My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. All right, welcome back to the show, guys. Eli here, and I have a very cool guest. I have recently had the pleasure of getting to know Dan Bennett. Was introduced to me by Jeff Casanova, which I've got to get him on this show sometime soon. He's a cool dude, and Dan and I got to have a great chat last week about video stuff. And he is the founder of Video for Entrepreneurs, a brand that helps entrepreneurs, professionals, and teams learn how to look and sound great on camera, which I think we all need more of. He's had the privilege of working with some pretty cool companies, Fortune 500 companies like Harley Davidson, Bud Light, Camaro, and even Nerf, which out of all four of those, that's the one that grabbed my attention. And he is here taking all of his expertise and wants to share it with you today. So with that said, Dan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, looking forward to this one, man. One of my favorite things in the world is to meet cool people. So this ticks the box.
We are going to have some fun. And you and I had an amazing conversation. It was just last week, as a matter of fact. And I was like, all right, yeah, you got to come on my show. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's so funny. You and I get on this call, and the first thing we said, we're talking video stuff, and you're talking about some of the things and about not using green screen. I'm like, I'm using green screen. And of course, today's the day my camera decided to wonk out, and I was like bright red, looked like I was like flush or something. And I'm like, of course, my camera works beautiful, except for the day when I'm on a video with a video guy. So yeah, so it's all fun though.
Yeah, it's a learning experience. Yeah, it doesn't matter how many years I've been doing this. Technology always wins. For better or worse.
Of course it does. Best thing is, how do you roll with it?
Yep.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this world of video production. Like you're helping entrepreneurs now, that you've got a good history behind that. So let's go ahead and start with that.
Yeah. 100 years ago, in a world far, far away, I was in a touring rock band. And professionally, I was an engineer, but the release creatively was music. And we started coming across a lot of other bands who saw like our website, our MySpace, I'll date myself, our merchandise, our designs. And they'd ask like, who's doing this for you? Where are you getting this? How much does it cost? And every time it was like, we don't have a budget. We're not signed. It's me. All of it's me. So I started accidentally helping other people tell their stories and then getting paid for it. I had left the engineering field because I couldn't stand it anymore. It was a short-lived 4-year career because I just did not like it at all. And I ended up getting picked up as a head of art and design for a large apparel printing company. So I was able to, fill the needs of all those bands and stuff that needed merchandise and printing and all that cool stuff, as well as kind of cut my teeth on working with clientele on an ongoing basis. Day came where we're kind of wrapping up the band thing. And I was like, you know what? I want to be an old man somewhere going, look what I did. And we have no video. So I'd like to have like a CD with a DVD this time, have some behind the scenes footage and maybe a music video. I then convinced myself I could pull off a full narrative music video with no budget. Somehow we did that. And I really caught the video bug at that point in time because I was like, whoa, this medium is the most powerful I've worked in. And even though I can do web and design and printing and all this stuff, I was really able to tell a story through video. And that was like 2008 when we were filming that. And that's when things started to really click for me. Like, oh, this is creative, cool. And I think it's more powerful than just graphic design alone. So that's kind of where that started. Took the normal route. I'll spare you all the details, but a lot of the things people do, which is like weddings and small mom and pop shops and, promotional videos and about me videos, climb the ladder like many video professionals do, started doing more corporate stuff, started getting some bigger jobs, a little bit of film and television, some government contracting stuff. And like many, I thought, this is it. You go bigger and bigger, the projects get bigger, the checks get bigger. But as that was happening, I was traveling all over the country and coming back to my home city of Flint, Michigan, and no one there could even come close to affording my day rate, let alone working with me on a consistent basis. Mm-hmm. And it made it hard to sleep. I'm in Dallas Fort Worth area now, but 2 years ago I moved from Flint and I was there my whole life. So I would come back and in a dedicated office building, look across the hall, and my small business, neighbors couldn't afford me. And I'm like, there's got to be a way to bridge this gap between the big dogs with big budgets and the small companies doing really cool stuff, but didn't have those budgets. And at that time, I was starting to come in front of the camera more for my own business, just making little videos, testing the waters, and it was working. So that's when I was like, well, maybe I can help other people film themselves. So instead of having to hire a video production company every time they want to make a video, I could teach them this. And I liken it to riding a bike. I'll hold the seat. I'll help you get your balance. If you skin your knee, I'll kiss the boo-boo. I'll put a Band-Aid on it. But eventually you'll have your balance. And then forever, no one can tell you that you can't go down to the corner store because you now know how to ride a bike. So I started viewing video that way, and it really struck a chord with people. So 2018, I started doing what's now 3 Hour Studio, helping people build their home studios in person before the shutdown. And that worked. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm onto something. This is a lot more fulfilling. I'm helping smaller businesses leverage video. Instead of my $3,000 a day, production rate at the time, they could pay me like $1,500 and buy some equipment and then be able to make videos forever. So that was really the driving force there of being able to sleep at night a little better. 2020 expedited the process. A lot more people were making video who had never planned on making video. Mm-hmm. And I'd been on Zoom for like 4 years already. So I was just like, welcome. Let me teach you how to look and sound good on this Zoom thing that we all have to do now. And that was the shift to doing mostly remote work, helping people film themselves and being able to help someone build a studio even from thousands of miles away. So it's been an interesting journey. And I finally found the part that really fulfilled me, which was helping smaller businesses leverage the same technology as the big businesses were.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And it's so funny, especially after 2020 happened, when we're all of a sudden our businesses were ran from home and we did have to make that shift. And, for me as a technology geek, it was like, that was pretty easy from that standpoint. I mean, I was an early adopter of Skype. I think if I remember correctly, I think I was like in the first 5,000 people that actually got a Stripe account or a Skype account. And it was such a big thing. And just for anybody who doesn't know, because it's not popular anymore, Skype was like the first real video conferencing software that was out there. It was way before Microsoft bought them out and ruined them. And, and it's so funny because now we've made this shift to where so many of us are doing this from home. And I think a lot of people still have a hard time understanding the power of looking and sounding good when you do these. Because, I mean, you and I talked about this the other day about how many people jump on and they're using the goofy blur the background kind of thing. So they ghost in and out as they move and things like that. And the biggest thing, especially for professionals, like you and I both work with a lot of people that are in that coaching, speaking, expert business. But then they come onto these kind of shows, or they're even just in their regular meetings, like they're doing Zoom meetings, networking or whatever. And they kind of look like they just rolled out of bed. It's like, okay, how do we fix that? And let's talk about a little bit of nuts and bolts of things that people can do to realize, number one, why does that make such a difference to look good and sound good on, say, even just a Zoom meeting?
Yeah. It's really about psychology. And it's interesting because I think I shared with you the first time we spoke about how the last remnant of my engineering career is this pie chart that I use in my workshops. And essentially it's the 4 things that I've done over the last 15 years of doing this professionally. And 3 of the slices of the pie are 5% each. And the last one's a big 85% slice. And the first slice is technology. That might be the equipment. That might be the video editing software. The second is strategy. Even though it's a huge part of the work we do, it's only 5% of the total effort that someone has to put in to create great video. The third 5% slice is distribution. Where's the video going? What's it doing? What platform is it going to? And are we playing by their rules to get the most out of this video? And then I go to the slide and I blow it up as big as I can, and the last 85% is mindset. And it's an interesting thing because, maybe I could, but I don't market, hey, you want to be great at video, want to look and sound good on video. It's all about mindset, because that doesn't necessarily seem to connect right off the bat for people. But as we work together, it does. Well, it goes 2 ways. Not only your mindset about how you create and how you get better, on camera, but also the mindset of those who are watching the equipment that you or the content that you put out. So a lot of that's psychological. If you show up and you look and sound good, there's a small part of someone's brain who's like, oh, they must be good at what they do. Look at the care they've taken to look and sound great themselves. And I've been on so many large calls with hundreds of people on it that are not my call. I'm just there as an attendee, or I'm going to a summit, or I'm involved somehow from the outside, and had people privately DMing me through Zoom, like, how do you look and sound like that? What's going on? What do you use? What camera is that? All these different things, not knowing I'm a video professional. They just see what's going on and want to know more. And so I like to share with my clients, like, you too can do this, right? You can be in a call and have people DMing you, like, how do you look and sound so good? And if anyone ever asks you that, don't say, oh, I worked with Dan and Video for Entrepreneurs, he helped me. Say, well, I figure if I'm going to show the world that I care about my potential clients, my prospects, and I'm not taking care of how I look and sound, how will they ever think I'm going to really pay attention to the details when I help them through, the problem that I helped them through? And that really locks in, even if it's subconsciously. So I think thinking about how someone else experiences your, look and sound on video is something that gets overlooked a lot. And I liken it to real life. If someone was going to come to your office and have a meeting where they might hire you, I mean, hopefully you don't have wrappers laying around and a half-empty Coke bottle and your laptop just strewn about and wires everywhere. Hopefully it's kind of tidy and it's welcoming and they feel good sitting down on the other side of the desk from you. And I think video is the same way. We should take the same amount of care because it has an impact. Even if it's not one that they tell you about verbally, it's still there psychologically. And I think it's the beginning of that, like, knowing and liking and trusting that we're all after. I think that can start to be established very quickly when there's a quality to how you show up.
So just for the record, if you were not paying attention, come back and listen to that over again, what he just said, because that was brilliant. It was exactly on point. So many people don't understand the power of presence. What is it you look like, just from a standpoint of how do you show up? How do you look professional? You don't have to have all the best equipment either. It's like, and you and I had this conversation. Most of the stuff that I have is actually not expensive stuff. Like, it's very cheap. I think I paid $50 for the camera I'm using. Doesn't have to be the best of the best. Obviously, your video is looking way better than mine does. But putting the work in to stand above is so important. And it's little details that make a big, big difference with that. I think that's such a critical thing that people don't understand. And you brought it down to the psychology of, if you put this much effort into showing up, is this the same kind of effort you're going to put into taking care of your clients?
Yeah. And it's built in. Just like a lot of video professionals will say, audio is the most important part, because we can stand listening to good audio with so-so video, but the opposite is a little grating and a lot of people will leave. They're not leaving saying that audio was terrible. They're leaving saying, I don't know why I didn't like that, but I couldn't listen to it anymore. Yeah. It's because they're conditioned. They're on Netflix, they're on Apple TV, they're watching really highly, produced and edited YouTube videos all the time. They know what good content looks like. And then when they get on, your content and it's not even close, they don't know why, but they might be like, skip. And it can really come down to a $150 microphone. I mean, I'm not sneezing at $150, but if that's what it took for you to show up and cause, that trust to begin to happen, I think it's a good investment compared to maybe $150 worth of business cards that you never hand out or something like that. So
exactly.
It's definitely important. And every single time you make a piece of content, you talk to someone, you have a quick call, even when I'm attending other people's calls and I put my hand up and then I'm full screen in front of a room of 20 people and I ask my question and I go back to the crowd, they've seen that and go, whoa, why'd that guy sound like he's on the radio? What's going on here? And not only has that led to business, it's really driven home the fact for myself as I educate other people that this is way more important than we give it, credit for. And the last thing I'll say, because you mentioned calls and stuff like that as just entrepreneurs and professionals like coaches and different things like that, I don't go around judging people's look and sound. I want to work with people who already think video is important and they want help. So if you got a terrible setup, but you're helping me or you're doing something great, I don't care. I don't judge. But there's one little asterisk that comes along, and it's just for me personally. And that is sales calls and software demos. when you're selling me something that's incredible and you look and sound terrible, you look like you're held hostage in some basement, I'm staring up your nose through a laptop camera, those two things don't go together, and I'm left feeling uneasy. And that's as someone who knows exactly what's going on. I'm not judging you, the salesperson, or you, the demo person, by your look and sound, because I know you're a human and you're doing a great job. But there's still, even with my knowledge, a part of my brain that's like, these don't line up. So I think there's, a lot of leverage out there, big levers that people can pull that they might be ignoring or maybe don't think it's that important.
No, I love that. And it is so true. And one of the things, like for me, of course, with me, I have the purple background because I'm known as a purple guy. That's part of my branding. It stands out. It is hilarious how many people will make a point to reach out to me because that stands out. Or here's a cool little sneaky thing that y'all have to think about is that when a host is having an event, they're taking screenshots of the group of people to talk about how amazing they are. When they use those screenshots and your picture stands out because it looks so much better than everybody else in the room, that's free marketing for you. I mean, it really is. And you don't have to go insane with the purple background and the big meet cool people like I do. But like, yours, Dan, your background is awesome. It stands out. It looks cool. I mean, if I was just looking at that, my first thought is that's a cool virtual background there, because that's what a lot of people think, because it just looks cool and it stands out from the norm. And of course, we have the other people that is like, they're sitting there, their camera's not done well, the lighting isn't good, and you can see their bed with their clothes on it behind them, which is exactly the opposite that you want. Yeah. So these things do really matter. Now, that brings me to my next question. So, I mean, obviously, at the end of the call, we're going to tell people how to get a hold of you. They can get all the information they need to work with you. But what are some of the things that we could talk about to get people up and running? Just little things that they can do that they can change that'll make an impact right away.
Yeah. So even though the work I do is custom and people get all kinds of different equipment based on exactly what they need and what their long-term video goals are, there are some things that you can knock out right away. So when I do workshops and stuff, I can only share so much. I generally only have 45 minutes. So I talk about the things that matter most. One of them is framing. Framing is free. I like to say that. Like, even if you got a laptop, you can put it up on some books. I got a little stand I bought from Amazon for $25 that is like a scissor stand, so I can go up and down. I can tilt it. I can do all kinds of stuff. It's not a rule of thumb, but it's a great place to start. I like a bust shot. So just above my navel, a little bit of room above my head. I do a lot of educational work. So most of the time they're looking at me and just some of the stuff I put on screen along to drive home the points I'm saying. So framing is free. A lot of times people will be either way low and you're looking up their nose, or they got a ton of room over their head and it looks like they're drowning in the ocean. I always say having your head cut off and drowning, both bad things. So let's stay away from those things as far as framing. Spoke about audio earlier. This is a $150 mic. You can get them at Best Buy, Amazon. It's called a Samson Q9U. It's not because it's the best mic in the world or it's the only one I think people should use. It's just really, really effective because it's USB right into your computer. No muss, no fuss, no interfaces. You plug it in and you sound like this. It's such an easy win. So you frame yourself a little better. You get a microphone that sounds really, really great. All of a sudden, you've risen above another 35, 40% of any of your peers who are making video. And that's the great thing about video is it can be done incrementally. So even when I do work with people, a lot of times they're pulling equipment out of the closet that they bought and never used, and we're setting it up appropriately so they can get back that buyer's remorse that they had. So those are a couple things you can do right out of the gate. Having the lens of whatever camera, whether it's a webcam, your laptop camera, whatever it is, literally in real life at eye level actually matters. If it's a little off, sometimes you can't tell. If it's way off, all of a sudden I feel like I'm looking up at you and I'm inferior or I'm looking down at you and I'm like, why do I feel superior? These are like filmmaking things, but they exist for a reason. So framing, great microphone, having your camera at eye level, and getting the reps in. You don't have to release everything you create. So have talks like this where maybe you're just on a Zoom call and you're practicing and it never goes anywhere, or record things and watch it back. Little pro tip there, and then I'll wrap that part up. I like to do the see no evil, hear no evil when it comes to video. So create a video, and then listen to it, but don't watch it. So either turn the phone away from you or cover your eyes or whatever, and listen to your pacing, listen to your cadence, listen, do I say a lot of ums and uhs and could it be better and where? And then watch it with no sound on. How do I move? Do I use my hands? Do I look like what I'm saying is interesting, or do I look like a robot and it's very boring? And then watch the whole thing as a whole after you've taken some notes, and you'll see how you can get better over time. And besides the microphone, everything I've stated here is free. So these are increases that you can make really, really quickly without spending any money.
No, those are great. And one of the great things you mentioned about first off, listen to it without watching it, and then do the opposite, watch it without listening to it. That is actually a really powerful one. Like for me, when I had to do that framing thing, because like for a long time I was way too low because I wanted to make sure that the Meet Cool People wasn't cut off or anything like that, and I had to play with it before I got comfortable with figuring that out. But like for me, as you can see right here on this video, I use my hands a lot in my conversation. And as I got more comfortable on video, which is fairly recent for me, like I'm a speaker. You put me in front of 300 people, doesn't faze me one bit. You get me in front of looking at this silly little lens on a camera, and for the longest time, I was just like a bumbling idiot. But it took some time for me to get comfortable with it. And when I did, I started realizing I'm more animated when I'm talking. So another thing that a lot of times people don't realize is if you can put the situation up, you might be better, especially if you're a speaker. If you're standing, get a standing desk. Like that's what I have. And people will notice that I move around a lot, and it's much more animated than just sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
You're sitting in a chair, but you still have the presence. That's hard for a lot of people. And for me, it's like when I'm sitting in a chair, I feel like I'm slouched over. It just doesn't look the same. And these are all things that the only way you're going to figure these things out is by doing them, which I think that's something really big that you just said. Is like, you just got to do it.
Yeah, it's cliche, right? Like get the reps in, but it doesn't mean make 100 bad videos and eventually you'll make a good one. It means practice once you have the tools in place to get better, right? So if you're taking a golf club to the batting cage, it doesn't matter how much practice you do, you're playing the wrong sport.
Right.
And I think that's where I like to help people, because everyone's got their own style. And even though every week, dozens of times I'm told by other entrepreneurs, all out of good faith and wanting to see me win, you should have more like universal things that you can package and sell to anyone. And because of the work I do, I can't. I can't say buy this camera, get this light, get this mic, it'll work for you, because everyone's desk is different. Everyone's space is different. Everyone's, windows are different. All these things end up coming into play. So because I know that I have to work directly with people and help them with their exact situations, I then get the comfort of knowing that means we can tackle these things that we've just talked about. So if I know someone's shooting like I do, they have this space where they work and they also film. I call them hybrids. I share everything I've learned over the last 15 years with them for this exact purpose. So because I have a chair with arms, I put my chair in a very specific place when I'm filming or doing something like this where it's being recorded. If my chair was where it was when I work, this would be a terrible frame. It's just the way it works. So my arms are all the way up. I don't keep them there. They're level with my desk, so I can place my hands down, but I can pick them up and gesture. That way I got some place for them to be, and I'm not like, where do I put my hands? Right. And then through time and getting those reps in, you'll see in a lot of my videos, sometimes a little bar comes up and some points are driven home by individual words. And you'll see behind that bar that comes up, my hands are like da, 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 and blah, blah, blah. I'm used to that. I know what the edit's going to look like. So that's something that I can draw to. And then you end up with like 3 or 4 kind of home bases. And you can always just rotate through those 3 or 4 things. And no one knows that you're essentially performing. Right. But you're comfortable doing it because you've gotten the reps in, and you've been here before. And that's the biggest part of video, is getting to a point where you're like, I've been here before. That doesn't mean I roll out of bed every morning like, I can't wait to make video. I can't wait to be on camera. I can't wait to put my old face out into the world a bunch more. But the gap between having great ideas and comfortably hitting record is really small for me. And that's what I want to help other people do too, is get that gap small enough to where you can kind of hop over it, as opposed to looking at it like a chasm that you can't get across.
Right. Yeah. And it's, when it comes to video, like for me, like I said, it was speaking easy, but video itself, especially if it's just me, that one still is a lot harder for me. But I got to that rhythm of, okay, let me just do this. And like, as everybody knows that right now reels and shorts and those kind of things, the short form content is what's popular. So I'm like, okay, let me give this a try. And I started playing with it. My first few were not very good. The quality sucked. I'm stuttering and stammering quite a bit, but I just did a bunch of them. And then I got to the point where I have a system behind what I do, to where, like, just last week, I recorded 14 videos, got them all uploaded, and created tasks for my team to do the editing side, all in under 30 minutes because I just kept doing it. And once you get to that flow of it, you do that. And, for me, I think I just got a thing on, I don't know which platform is. One of them was congratulating me because I had posted like 65 reels. Okay. So I've recorded 65 videos, and that was before the 14 I just did. So it's like, okay, you just gotta keep doing it and you'll get better and better and better when you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I find myself walking this line. It's not a razor's edge, but it's not very wide between having this background in filmmaking and helping people with video. And filmmaking and video are two very, very different things. When I do my workshops, the very quick version of how I draw a differentiation is film is about dialogue. No matter what movie you watch, no matter how many special effects or how big the budget, it's always about two people talking.
Right.
Great case in point, Oppenheimer. That's all people talking. And yet it's this incredible film that is 3 hours long and feels like it's half that length. In video, I'm like, okay, well, is it about monologue then, since this is dialogue? I'm like, well, not necessarily, because we're all not giving monologues. A lot of times we're educating, we're sharing our screens, we're doing all this. So what's it about? And the driving force that helps me help people with video most of the time is eliminating distraction. And that's really what I focus on the video side. It's not just about make it interesting, hook them, show them things that keep them engaged. It's about getting rid of all the stuff you don't need. So I walk this line of having this knowledge of filmmaking and wanting to share that with entrepreneurs and professionals, but not wanting to overwhelm them with jargon and theory and why films work so well. So I call it story bake, and everything I do is like a metaphor or analogy, and I wrap it in a story so it's edible and digestible. And a lot of it comes down to putting together a production process. But if you're like, hey, let's put a production process in place for your company, a lot of people are like, ugh. But if you tell them, hey, let's put, like a financial pillar in your company, it's like, well, of course, I got a bookkeeper, I got to do my taxes, I got P&L sheets. Like, okay, that vertical makes sense for a business. Well, video is an important part of what you're doing. You should have a really well-polished vertical as well. And what makes any great vertical in a business? Systems. And what makes a great system when you're creating video? A production process, which is what you just shared that you found along the way through doing it. So I think it's a super important part that can feel a little scary, but I like to remind entrepreneurs it's no different than having a system in place for your team or hiring or bookkeeping or whatever the case may be. You just have to have it in place, and then you can, massage it and polish it over time. But I love that you shared that, because I think it's an important part. And a lot of people are just like, make videos and put them out and hope. No, this can be a system with a strategy, just like the rest of your business.
Right. Right. Well, and you know me well enough now in our conversations, I'm a systems guy. It's like, okay, no, we have to have a process for this, because that's the way my brain works anyway. But I mean, you did bring up a really good point with that, is that the process, first off, you don't know what the process is until you start building it out. And so building a production sounds like a lot of work, and it sounds like you say the word production, it sounds expensive. All that is just, what are my steps? What's the easiest way for me to accomplish this thing, start to finish, whether that is with a team, without a team. Like for me, I go through and make a list of the topics I want to talk, because they're going to be short videos. So here's my bullets. And then I record back to back. Like I recorded, I think I ended up with 17 or 18 videos altogether. There was a few of them that were not good. So I got rid of those, ended up with 14 of them. Well, the last time I did it, I did 22 videos and ended up going through the upload process, setting it up. I created the system for, a template for what my team needs to do on their side, so that it was like copy, paste, send, copy, paste, send, copy, paste, send, done. And it's like, but you build that as you go. That is your production. It doesn't have to be fancy and expensive. And I know for you, like you guys actually offer a service with that too. So if somebody gets to the point of like, I don't want to mess with any of the other stuff, let me just record the videos and let somebody else do the rest of it. Cool. Then, Dan's your guy. Let him take care of that.
Yeah, and that only works because of there being a process in place, right? Like um, every great film, no matter where it came from, what style it's in, or why you love it, 85% of it, if not more, was taken care of before cameras ever rolled.
Hmm.
And video is no different. Um, so much work goes into pre-production, and there's really only three stages: high level pre-production, the actual production, post-production, that's the editing, and distribution. There's three chunks. It gets way more complex, obviously, depending on what you're doing, but those are the three chunks. And a lot of attention needs to be paid to pre-production. What's the idea? Where's it going? What's the system? How do I hand this off when I'm done? Am I editing my own stuff? If so, and a great way to tackle that up front before you have a full system in place is by batching, which is what you're talking about. And it's one of the ones I lean pretty hard on, even though it's not everyone's style. I try and get everyone to consider it because I have all the equipment, all the knowledge, all the talent to do these things fast, and I still batch. So if it's good enough for me, it's good enough for you. And Sundays I film, Mondays I write, Thursdays I edit. And that doesn't change. And that's done in a batch format. And I can't tell you the exact math, but taking 4 videos and batch filming them, batch editing them, batch writing them gets 4 videos out the door faster than doing 4 videos one at a time. It's just the way it is. So totally worth doing, and headache up front. You know, I always say video is creating great video content is super simple. Asterisk. I didn't say easy. And it's true of so many things in life, and
Right.
video is just one more.
Right. So let's talk on this. I got one more big question that I want you to share some ideas on before we start wrapping up here. We've talked about creating better quality video and batching it and all the tech side of it. But let's talk about what kind of video should people be doing? Because I think that's one thing that holds people up. They hear a billion different things, and we need to have long form, and we have to have short form, we have to have it as reels, we have to have it on TikTok, all the different things. What are some of the things that people need to keep in mind when creating it? Because I know there's no one size fits all, but
Yeah.
there's some basic guidelines to go by.
Yeah, the closest thing I have to an umbrella is weekly when I get asked how long should my videos be. I say if they're good, it doesn't matter. And then that is the truth. It's not a cop out, it's the truth. If it's 60 seconds long and it's incredible, that's awesome. If it's 60 minutes long and it holds attention for that long, that's incredible. We have a client that has a channel that does day trading. His videos are 45 to 60 minutes long, and his retention's incredible. Like, it doesn't matter if it's good. Now, beyond that is strategy. And I would love to share a little bit about that too. But I really want that to sink in, that if you put in the effort, you have a great idea, you've done everything you can to put your best foot forward, and you've followed some sort of system and strategy to get there, you're getting better over time. It doesn't matter. Now, it might be that your business is a fitness business and it's all about quick wins and how do I do this, curl correctly. You could have 1,060-second videos on TikTok blowing your brand up and then sending them somewhere else to work with you directly or buy your supplements or whatever. And that might be the way to go. You also might be someone who's like a financial planner going into more depth and talking about very scary things like money. And that maybe you can't do that in 60 seconds. So you need a 5 to 10 minute video every time you put one out. There are some conditions based on what you do that will have an impact on this. But again, one last time, if your video is good, it doesn't matter how long it is. Now to the strategy part, you'll see the solar system behind me. That's not by chance. We have a solar system methodology. Full transparency, is just hub and spoke. I didn't invent it. I'm just utilizing a framework that works really well when you're trying to create content on a consistent basis. This is a super fast version, and I want to say that anyone who sees this, feel more than free to get a hold of me, and I'll get this in your hands for free to check out. This framework is, like I said, hub and spoke, but I use the universe because I'm a metaphor and analogy guy. It's more fun. So at the center of that is your sun, your big idea, your North Star. For me, that's help entrepreneurs and professionals look and sound great on camera. A lot of different ways to do that, but that's the big idea for me. So when I get up in the morning, that's what I'm thinking about. Even though my products solve different parts of video, the whole is I want entrepreneurs and professionals to look and sound great on camera so they can compete with the big dogs. That doesn't mean I make videos around that topic. That's just the center of gravity that holds everything together, my whole strategy. Around that are planets. I try and tell people don't have more than 3 unless you have a really large audience that can absorb a lot of different kinds of topics and themes. But 3 is a good number. 1 is just fine as well. If you got one thing and that's what you do, perfect. So my 3 planets are very specific. I try and educate where I think most video educators are dropping the ball. So my 3 planets, or themes, or buckets, topics, whatever you want to call them, are strategy, camera presence, and storytelling. I think everyone talks about like the latest and greatest camera, or how to grow your YouTube channel, or all the sexy searchable things about video, but they don't talk about the things that make you great. Being a great storyteller, having a great strategy, and having great camera presence when people watch your videos. So those are my planets. And then around each one is my ongoing content. So if it's a YouTube channel, maybe that's a video a week. In your case, you talked about making 15 videos that are small snippets that are really valuable, and you release them over time on a certain platform. All those are moons around your planets, and you can have as many as you want because that's your ongoing content. So if one of my planets is camera presence, maybe one of my shorter form videos is 5 ways to increase your camera presence without spending any money. All of these things go out from the center of gravity, right? So we have sun, we have planets, we have moons. The last is satellites. They're just kind of floating around your solar system, and that's getting on someone's radar. You're not trying to make a sale off this 30-second video where you share a powerful piece of, content. You just want them to know you exist. And then when you freeze all that, you see a flow of gravity from the outside to the inside, right? That is eliminating any stickiness between someone first finding out about you, never having heard of you before, all the way to understanding your big idea. And you've made that flow of gravity as seamless as possible for them. And I've seen this, it doesn't work this way every time, but I've seen this with some of our clients work so fast to where someone sees one of their TikTok videos. Oh, that was cool. Watch 3 more. Man, it's almost like they're speaking directly to me. Click link in bio to YouTube channel. Oh, here's the 5-minute full video that really breaks it down. Wow. At the end of that, if you like this, go watch the planet video that's more in depth, but it's going to teach you everything you need to know about this. Man, go watch that next. Okay, what do I do now? I think I want to work with this person. It's like they're talking right to me. They've solved all my problems. I think I want to hire them to help me get this across the finish line. That I've seen happen within 24 to 48 hours before. It's not typical, but I've seen it where someone has never heard of you, and 2 days later, they're on a call with you talking about how to hire you. That's insane to think about, but it's totally possible. And if you build your system in a way that makes that journey for them as easy as possible, I think that's one of the most powerful things you can do as far as strategy goes. And I've had people, someone who just hired me last week and came on board has been watching my videos for a year. So it doesn't mean that they go from the outside to the inside in a day, even though that can happen. It just means I've put things in place so they always know the next place to go until they're ready to have a conversation. So again, solar system methodology, happy to share it with anyone that would like a link for free. And I think that's a great way to take all the things that are possible and really figure it out. And then after doing that for a month or two, you're like, oh, all my 60-second videos on LinkedIn get tons of engagement, and my 5-minute videos on LinkedIn don't. Maybe those longer ones are for YouTube, and I send people there once they're ready to know more. You can start to test and feel and find your own kind of system based on your audience, how you perform on camera, as well as your industry. So a little long-winded there, but I think that's the way that most people can take an infinite amount of possibilities and really narrow it down to what's my sun, what's my big idea, what are the topics I'm going to talk about all the time, and then how can I flush out all these ideas as moons around those planets for ongoing content so people can really get to know what I do.
That was awesome. Great analogy to break it all down for everybody. And it is, the spoken wheel process has been around forever, but the way you did it, that makes so much more sense. It really does. It's a great analogy.
Appreciate it. Yeah, my goal is to help people wrap their heads around their own content.
Yeah,
because it's all in them. We have a body of work as professionals and entrepreneurs. We don't need 1,000 new ideas. We need to share what we know. Yeah. And if we can put that in a framework, step 1 is done. It could be clunky and lumpy and still need polish, but if you can get that done, you can start to see results and then adjust as you go.
Yeah, awesome. That is lovely. So definitely, I want a copy of that. So let's talk about that. So okay, final 2 questions for you as we're wrapping up. Number 1 is that this is the Meet Cool People show. So what does meeting cool people mean to you?
Oh, it's I think it's the best part of entrepreneurship. I'm really focused and always have been on networking and collaboration. even though I've spent a large part of my entrepreneurial career as just one person, I still always knew it would take more than me. It's never been about like a genius in a room making software or something. It's been about, if I want to make a dent in the universe, I'm going to have to help a whole lot of other people who have audiences make an impact on their audience. It's never going to be about me having 10 million followers and making a dent that way. And because my life has kind of went that way, that's always been my focus in relationships in real life as well as in business. So meeting cool people to me is kind of the lifeblood of my business, and it's the most enjoyable part, right? So I found a way to be able to build and scale business over time, and at least one major component of that outreach being networking and meeting cool people. So when I saw what you did when we first met, I was like, oh, someone who gets it, you know, not only gets it, but outwardly expresses it. And I think that's so important because it's easy to search on YouTube or Google, like how to run a business online and get the top 10 gurus to tell you the same things all the time, build a large audience, sell them stuff. That's one model. I think it works. I'm glad it exists. I just don't think it's the only way. I think having a body of work, sharing that with people who want to know that information, and networking out through other people who can always recommend people to you because they know exactly what you stand for and how you help people is one of the best parts of entrepreneurship and building a business, building a team. And who wants to meet uncool people? I don't know.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you. So, okay. So last question. This is the big one. How do people get a hold of you? Because they're going to want to hear more about how you can help them.
Yeah, so Video for Entrepreneurs is my handle across all platforms. So if you search that anywhere, you're going to find me. But to make it real easy for people, I bought a domain name years ago called danhaslinks.com. And all my links are there. So if you can remember the danhaslinks.com, you'll be able to find me anywhere you're hanging out.
That is perfect. Well, Dan, thank you so much for coming and hanging out today. You shared a bunch of wisdom. I appreciate you, and I know everybody's going to get a ton of value out of this. So thank you so much for coming and joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And my approach to business is through free strategy calls. They're not sales calls, they're actual strategy calls. Mm-hmm. So if anyone sees this and then checks me out and sees that little button and you're stuck somewhere with video, feel free to click it and let's have a chat.
Awesome. Man after my own heart. Any of my clients that are listening to this are like, oh yeah, he's doing the same thing Eli keeps telling us to do. Is like, no, it's not a strategy session. It's not, it's a real conversation. It's not a veiled sales pitch. So yeah, awesome. And I highly recommend anybody listening to this, take him up on this because he's a wealth of information. He and I had a great conversation last week. And so with that, Dan, thank you so much for hanging out today.
Thanks again.
And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. If you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to followuprockstar.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to followuprockstar.com and we'll see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rockstar.